Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Know Your Shit podcast, where our knowledge and pride in what we do drives us in the pursuit of excellence. My name is Josh Cadillac, and once again, you're stuck with me in the driver's seat for today's show as we learn how to stop chasing paychecks and learn to start building a business we can be proud of as part of a life we can be proud of. We have a great show for you today because we have a great guest, and it's Brandi Croghan. Brandi, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Josh. I'm happy to be here.
Great to have you, Brandi. Why don't you tell everybody what it is you do?
So I am the founder of the What If Collective, which is a consultancy. I help leaders and teams perform at their best through leadership, through using what is called the What If mindset, which is something that I developed from years and years and years of helping teams, helping leaders become high performance. I did it in corporate America for years. And then when I came out on my own and started really working with teams from across the globe, I kept seeing this such a consistent behavior pattern around people getting stuck, leaders not really knowing what they should say to their teams in times of transformation and times of change, not really understanding that these moments of transformation can happen in small intentional moments. It doesn't have to be this big grandiose moment that happens. And so that's how the What If mindset was born, was staying anchored in curiosity, staying there long enough to be intentional around gaining other perspectives. And that curiosity is actually a really, really powerful tool for performance. And so that's what I do with teams from, like I said, all over.
What got you started down that rabbit trail?
Well, you know what? It's funny because it came to me not as some big moment of bravery where I was going to go out on my own, but early last year in 2025, I was downsized from my corporate job. I had worked in pharmaceuticals and biotech for over 20 years. I've been working in employee experience and learning and development, diversity and inclusion, all these things. And the company restructured, company downsized. We don't really need this learning and development piece as we're utilizing it anymore. And so I was internally kind of working as a consultant at this company. I would have leaders call and say, hey, can you come in and do this workshop? Can you come do this session? And so after the downsizing, I had leaders continue to call me and say, hey, could you come do this for my team? And half jokingly, I said, yeah, if you want to pay me as a consultant, but I'm not going to be at the organization. And they kept saying yes, right? They kept saying, yeah, we'll pay you. Come on in. And I thought, well, what if I did this full time? What if this is what I'm supposed to be doing?
My job, yeah.
And it just happened organically like that. And then after the downsizing, I was always also going through some major life transitions. So it was one of those moments. I think we all have them, right? Where your personal life feels like it's spinning out of control. Your professional life feels like it's like everything's happening at once. And so I had a dream for years to hike the Camino over in Spain. And so last June I did that. And for me, it was just going to Spain, hiking the Camino, getting some peace, getting some clarity. I didn't really know why I was doing it. I just knew that everything around me was chaotic. And so I wanted to get out there and walk. And on that journey, what I realized was that the Camino was teaching me what I needed to do when I got back on this journey, which is you don't have to know the whole path to take a step. You take that next step. So I wasn't going to walk 22 kilometers in a day. I was going to walk a step and then another step and then another step. So, and there was also moments in that journey where I started out carrying this 16-pound pack on my back, and I was determined I was going to carry it the whole time. But because of the terrain, quickly my legs, my knees, it was just like burning, right, with the weight of this pack. And so I also learned, wow, in leadership, in trying to perform, we often think adding things, carrying more things is going to make us better performers, make us better leaders. Sometimes laying things down and getting rid of the things that we don't need make us better performers. And so as I was on this journey, that's how the What If mindset was really born. I was like, wow, this is an intentional way of thinking What if I don't have to carry all this weight this whole time? What if I could perform better if I let some things go? And so that's how this all started for me, was not in some boardroom or, some coffee shop where I sat down to build some consultancy and a framework, but it was truly living it and then starting to build it out of those lived experiences, and how so utterly meaningful it was to leadership and performance, of how I started thinking intentionally, and showing up with more intention.
Good stuff. What do you like best about what you do?
Well, I mean, there's so much about it. I think one of the things that I love is the absolute terror. You're terrified being an entrepreneur, especially a new one who's been, wrapped up in the comfort of corporate for so many years. But then there is this freedom of, oh my gosh, I get to come out here. I have a message, I have a tool that will absolutely transform the way that you show up, the way your team shows up, the way that you're going to perform, and let me share that with you. Let me do it in my own way, in my own voice, and let me help you on your journey. Being able to live out my why, so to speak, right, is to show up, to add value wherever I go, and dig in with people and say, where are you? Where do you want to be? How can I help get you there? And that's beautiful to be able to do on your own terms. And I absolutely love that. So, yeah, being an entrepreneur and coming out and doing this on my own, I tell people, like, it's terrifying. Of course it's terrifying, but it's one of the most exhilarating things I've ever done, was lived through this past year and a half.
Good stuff. So that's the good part. What's the toughest part of what you do?
Man, sometimes it's those moments where, you show up and it's great, everything's clicking, right? Everything, people are calling for jobs and it feels good and the message feels good. And then the toughest thing is, it is sitting with, like, gosh, what else can I be doing? Is there something else I can be doing? And sometimes you don't have the answers to that. And that's where staying curious for me about showing up with intention of, I may not have all the answers, and that's tough. It's tough to not know who my next client might be. It's tough to know that, you put yourself out there and you're opening, not everybody's going to like me. Not everybody is going to like any of us, right? And so you're brave enough to put yourself out there and open it up for people's feedback and comments, and keep going, right? So I know that I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and showing up anyway, and coming on podcasts like this, right? Talking about what I do. At the end of the day, though, I think what gets me through that really hard time of just knowing, hey, you know what? Some people are going to like this. Some people are your people, some people are not. But what I do know is that every human being, I don't care who you are, you want to be heard, seen, and understood. And when you tap into that as a leader, when you tap into that as a business person being successful, let me understand you. Let me do that for you. Let me hear you. Oh, it changes everything. So if I can leave somebody with that and just have them turn that page when they go home from hearing me speak, hearing a workshop, and they show up differently to their team, they show up differently in the next business deal they're doing, they show up differently to their partner at home or their friends, that's a win for me. And so if I can have people just take that piece away of us relating to each other, and driving performance through that, it's amazing.
Absolutely. At some point, though, in every entrepreneur's journey, there seems to be a point where things go about as bad as they can, where they hit rock bottom. Where was rock bottom for you?
Phew. Well, I'll tell you, this past year I mentioned I had this perfect storm come together of feeling like the world was literally crumbling around me, from a personal standpoint, from a professional standpoint. I had poured my heart and soul into my corporate career, and I wasn't needed anymore. And that was painstaking. I said, what am I going to do next, right? And then on the personal side of things, really hitting rock bottom of, caring for parents who are sick, losing, navigating a relationship, a marriage that was ending. And in my mind, when all of it was happening at once, it was like, how am I going to keep building this business? How am I going to show up for people? Who am I? It's that self-talk in your mind that says, who wants to listen to me, right? How am I supposed to show up with this energy and give this to people when I feel like I'm walking in this fog? And that's so real for so many people. Of I don't know if I can go on. I don't know if I can go on the next job and light up things like I used to. I don't know that. And so that was tough. That was such a moment for me to have the culmination of things spiraling in personally, things spiraling professionally, but then figuring out, how do you take the next step? That's it. Brandi, you don't have to have it all figured out. I don't know what the answer is, but how do you take just that next step to get you over that? Because when you're in that space, I call it the stories we tell ourselves. Our minds just start going. And that can be devastating. And I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs, that's where a lot of people quit, is they get into that space. And it's like, oh, let me go back to the thing that was safe for me. Let me go back to the thing I know. And it's easy to quit in those moments. And so that was when I had to make that choice, and kind of have that talk with me.
Hmm. And so that maybe brings me to the next question I have for you. What was the thing, when you go from working for other people, when you go from a corporate job to working for yourself, there are things that are different than you thought they would be. What was the thing that wound up being harder working for yourself than you expected? What was the thing that surprised you about working for yourself?
I mean, I think intellectually, we all know that when we're in a corporate role or working for somebody else, there's things that are taken care of for you, that you don't have to deal with, that you don't have to think about. And I will say, I grew up, my dad built a company when I was born. He started this company. And so my whole existence growing up was watching my dad build this, what is now, a family business. My brother runs it. So my lens of life, I grew up watching those down and dirty moments. My dad just sitting, kind of scribbling on a pad, making phone calls from our garage in our house, getting business, having employees not show up, having people not do what they say they're going to do. And that's all on you. It's, just the simple things like getting your invoicing out, doing your work, right? Like doing the administrative work that isn't so sexy, that nobody sees that you're doing. And quite frankly, there were moments like, I have no idea how to do this. I have no clue how to do this. But there's always this community of people. What I found is that there's enough space for people who are entrepreneurs. I found this incredibly supportive network. And when you are intentional about, hey, I'm going to reach out to this person, they know way more about this than I do, maybe they have something that can help me. Staying curious, hey, do you know about this? I need to get your perspective on this. People are more than willing to help do that. And so, coming from that childhood in my life of watching my dad build something that was, not big, not glamorous at the beginning, those are the things that kind of surprise you. That's like, gosh, I have spent a lot of time doing these things. But when you rely and lean into other people's expertise, it makes all the difference in the world. And it's stopping having that mindset like, I'm doing this by myself and I might be doing it solo, but I'm not alone. There's a lot of other people out here, and we're not built that way. We're not built to, as humans, to just operate in isolation. And so that, for me, of really flexing that muscle, of leaning into people for help and not having to, again, carry it all. I don't have to carry it all. That was a really powerful moment of realization as an entrepreneur.
So, how do you manage yourself when there are disappointments, when there's unmet expectations, when things go
Mm.
poorly? Because that's always a part of business. How do you, mindset wise, keep yourself moving?
You know, I think of what I alluded to a little bit earlier of number one, I fully understand that I'm exposing myself, right? When you choose to do this work and you choose to get up in a room full of a few hundred people, you choose to show up on a podcast where, hundreds or thousands of people are going to listen to you. When you know I believe in what it is that I'm doing. I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in the what if mindset. I believe in the behaviors that get you to the performance of where you want to be. What if you could perform at your highest level? I believe in all of these things. And so that's what keeps me going is knowing that the work I am doing is it's part of who I am. It's part of my values. It's part of how I show up in life. And I have seen it time and time and time again. And I love getting up in front of a room of especially commercial revenue driven leaders and teams. And I ask the question, who wants to be the highest performer in the room? The whole room goes up. And you cannot separate out your mindset, how you're choosing to show up. One of the things I love saying is how you show up determines what shows up for you. I love that sentiment. And so I play that in my mind constantly. I might have had a disappointment. I might have not had somebody, and it's happened. I've done a workshop where I I vetted out exactly what I thought this client wanted. We went over the material and it just didn't land right. It didn't land how I wanted it to. It didn't land how they wanted it to. That happens rarely, but sometimes it happens. Like you said, you do something and it's just not meshing. And so my mindset of number one, how can I deliver what you want, but how can I show up in a space that isn't detrimental, that isn't negative, but how am I going to show up to determine what shows back up for me, and get really intentional, but also just un I don't apologize. It's unapologetic passion about what it is that I have to offer and what I'm bringing.
Yeah, there's no reason to apologize for it. 10,000 foot view, where you are in your business right now, what would you say? What does success look like for you? How would you define it?
Yeah, for me at this stage, because I am still scaling and I am still growing and learning. And I hope that a year from now, 5 years from now, success looks like to me that when I see, and I'm already starting to see sparks of it, which is like, oh, I want this on a bigger level, is I'll come back into an organization and I'll do a workshop for a different team and somebody will come up to me and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, Brandy, we are using this language as a team. This what if." We'll ask each other, "Hey, what if we do this? What if we consider this other perspective? What if we have a conversation that we were trying to avoid and we use this?" And so when I think about success, I think about teams, leaders, entrepreneurs, people building their business coming and naturally using this as part of the way that they speak to each other, they speak to their clients, using this what if mindset. And the reason I love it is that it's not, I mean, how many times do we say what if? We It's something we all hear, we all talk about, but it's that intention behind it and being able to see organizations make that shift and see and teams make that shift and see the actual tangible results with it is what I'm going for.
Good stuff. So, from the stuff that you do, from the stuff that you teach and all, is there any tool or anything that you would suggest to our listeners to help them?
Yeah. One of the things that one of the behaviors that I've honed in on that is an absolute gateway into the what if mindset is that if you want to inspire your team, you want to connect, right? Because one of the things I talk about a lot is you cannot build trust, you cannot influence, right? If we're in business, if we're trying to make a sale, if we're trying to get a deal done, we're not going to do that with another person unless we build trust with that person and build a connection. It's just not going to happen. That's the way our brains are meant and wired to behave. And so one of the behaviors that I share with leaders is this idea of, I appreciate that, and being really intentional, not just saying, hey, thanks for doing a great job in that meeting today, right? That's what a lot of people hear. They don't feel like they're actually being appreciated for something specific that's been done. And when we use the words as leaders, as business people, of, hey, I appreciate that you spoke up in that meeting today. It really helped me as a leader understand that, we were kind of missing the mark on that. And I appreciate you jumping in. I'd love to see more of that, because it allows feedback, but it also allows people to understand very specifically what it is that they did that was helpful, that was driving whatever it was forward that needed done. And so that one thing is using appreciation with intentionality and being very specific, right? Because it can also sound a little bit I don't even know what the word is, kind of hokey, or like, oh, I appreciate you. I appreciate that. No, you have to use it with intention. You have to use it with very specific feedback around it. And to me, that practice is a gateway into the whole what if mindset, because you are intentionally connecting with another person and telling them and communicating with them, I appreciate this very specifically about what just happened with our interaction, with a client interaction, and with your performance.
Good stuff. What would you say is the most important thing you've learned in the process of doing all that you've done, both coming up with your model and also opening your business and running it?
Mhm.
What's the most important thing?
The most important thing that I've learned is that you have to trust yourself and see obstacles as possibility. So every single time something is coming to me, what if this is teaching me something? What if there's another way to do that? What if I'm focusing on the wrong thing? So I'm always asking myself, is there another perspective I could be taking here? Is there another way that I should be looking at this? That is just something where taking that one moment at a time and taking it with intentionality instead of feeling overwhelmed, right? Like, this can be an overwhelming thing to do, is build a business, get out in front of people, teach workshops. But and the one thing, that I've learned along the way is that the what if mindset, it's not just about positive thinking, right? It's not like, oh, think so positively, there's no problems. It's about, am I staying curious? Am I being intentional enough, long enough to discover what's actually possible out there? And that, to me, has been one of the most important lessons. Is it's easy to start telling ourselves those stories. It's easy to start getting ahead of ourselves, but staying curious long enough, staying in it long enough to be intentional, and what's possible will come.
Good stuff. Want to enter kind of a little bit more of a personal version of this, find out a little bit more about you, kind of a bit of lightning round as well. Just sort of take your first quick answers to these. What would you say you're most proud of in business you've accomplished?
Oh, wow. I mean, it's the what if mindset. It's putting it out there, it's having it trademarked, it's my intellectual property in the world, and there's something so amazing. I spent so many years doing things for other people, and to have something that I can look at and say, I built that. I did that, and it's my intellectual property that's now out in the world. It's awesome. It's awesome to see it.
Yeah, no, it's great to see something you built come to life. It's a special feeling.
Absolutely.
Um, what same question, but a little bit more personal. What are you most proud of in life you've accomplished?
Oh, it's funny because my dad, when I was younger, he always used to say, you have nothing, nobody can take away your good name. Nobody can take away what the dignity you have, the truth that you give to people. Be a good person. And so what I am most proud of holistically, professionally, personally, is that I have always shown up as a good person in an honest way, to just truly want to understand people, to help people. And it's an evolution, right? But I know that I can look in the mirror and say, you know, my name is a good name, and I hold that really, really close to me, is that going through life and having people look and say, you know what, you always did right by us. You showed up and you did what you were going to say you were going to do, and always doing right by people. To me, that's such an amazing legacy to leave.
Absolutely. What's one piece of advice you'd give our listeners?
Gosh, I would say, listen, curiosity is not just a fluff thing, right? We talk about these things about mindset, about curiosity, about possibility, right? But if I could leave people with just three things, it's that curiosity is truly a competitive advantage. When you can dig into that, you can stay curious, you can perspective take, you can understand where somebody else is coming from. Oh my gosh, you're going to see a huge shift. It's transformative to be able to have that behavior. Next, as I said, the mindset shapes how we're showing up and getting possibility. How you show up determines what shows up for you, period. And so whether that's abundance, whether it's chaos and problems, show up in a space where you're going to get back what you're going for. And transformation comes from consistent action, not huge, grandiose things, right? But just small, intentional, consistent action, time after time, day after day, interaction with interaction. I always like to say every interaction is a moment where you can build trust. It's an opportunity to build trust. Don't waste those moments where you can build and you can grow.
Um, Tough question here, but always interested to see what people will say. If you're talking to somebody, what's the one book you recommend? The book you say, yeah, look, if you're going to read anything, this is the book you got to read. What's that book for you?
Oh my gosh. I read it recently, probably about a year ago, and I loved this book, The Happiest Man on Earth.
Okay.
And his last name is Jaku, and he was in a concentration camp, but he survived, and this book is about his life journey. But what struck me about that book, both in this man's life, when he says that, he was the happiest man on earth, it was like that you cannot survive. Even, I mean, this man, it was his it was his actual survival that depended on human connection. And so whether it is in life and whether it's in business, the way we're built as humans to connect with other people, and the sheer power that has to literally survive, is absolutely incredible to me. So you talk about saving your life, about living, and then we translate that into just how we interact day to day, whether it's in business and life. It was a completely powerful book, and I think I was looking at it, through the lens of my work. But wow, it was incredibly, incredibly powerful.
Good stuff. Similar question, maybe even worse. Favorite movie of all time? What's the movie that if it's on, you're not changing the channel?
Oh my gosh. You know what? This is gonna sound super crazy, but this is like a cult classic from the late 80s that I think Tom Hanks would be embarrassed. I know he's probably embarrassed he even made it, but it's a movie called The Burbs, and it's with Tom Hanks. And I remember in high school seeing this movie, right? It was like it came out maybe the early 90s, I don't know. But I remember seeing this movie, and for some reason, my family, my friend, we all thought it was hilarious, and I still watch it to this day. It shows up on Netflix every once in a while. But it is just the funniest movie about, again, right? Like you have these groups of people living in close proximity to each other, and like the assumptions they make about each other, and the lengths people go to, and the stories they start telling themselves, and like the sheer behavior of, and it's hilarious and funny, and like I said, super like buried cult classic from Tom Hanks, but I love it. It's hilarious.
All right. Famous person in history you'd want to meet if you could.
Oh my gosh. Right now, I would say, I mean, this person is still living, but I would love to meet Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx. That woman, to me, I love her story. I love the way that she built her empire, from the early days of being just completely fearless in what she was doing. She didn't, she didn't dwell on the, oh my gosh, what if this all falls apart? What if I'm not supposed to be walking into Neiman Marcus asking for business, right? Like she was just determined on, I have a product, it will change your world, and I am determined to sell it to you. And I love that mindset, and so I would want to sit down with her, I think.
All right. Similar question, but a little more personal. What person from your past would you want to sit down with and have lunch with today if you could?
Oh, that's an easy one. It's definitely my grandmother. I was just talking about this to a friend of mine because I split my time. I live near Sarasota, Florida, for some of my time. And whenever I'm down there, my grandmother, she loved Florida. She lived in Clearwater for a little bit. It was her dream to live on the beach. She did it for a little bit, but I was telling somebody, I said, you know what? There were so many questions that I wish I would have asked her. And when I was a kid, I was like, I would complain about things, or she's like, let's go for a walk on the beach. And now when I'm there, I can feel her. It's almost like her dreams, her ideas, and the things she loved about life are so aligned with the things I love, and moments that I love. And so I would love to be able to sit down with her now as an adult and just ask questions, ask how to live and manifest your dreams a little bit more than I did when I was a kid.
Good stuff. Um, what was the one piece of advice you'd go back and give a younger version of you? What did younger you need to hear?
Oh, don't spend so much time fixated on what other people think. People don't think about you as often as you think they do. So I wish I could tell my younger self that. Stop. Nope, those people aren't thinking about you like you think they are.
Yeah,
Keep plugging away with your dreams.
good stuff. What's next for you? What's the next project? What's the next thing that you have percolating? Uh,
Gosh, there's a few different things. Right now, I would absolutely love to have a book and a workbook around the what if mindset. That's actually something tangible. I'm working on all of that right now. Something that I can give to clients after I leave, that lets them continue their journey with the what if mindset, and packaging that up into something that's a system, something that is, this is the thing. What I've realized is that in working in corporate settings, no leader, no team, nobody wants to buy a new framework. Nobody wants to buy, it's like, oh, we have that, we're doing that. This is the thing about the what if mindset. Whatever it is that you're using, whatever framework, whatever learning framework, whatever high performing teams framework you're using, the what if mindset is something that complements whatever it is that you're already doing, and can be folded in as something that elevates, something that accelerates performance, no matter what it is that you're using. So it's, I'm not asking people, oh, just, come and do this, use this, buy this from me. No, it's something that whatever it is that you're doing, here are resources, here is something that will help you layer on top of what it is that you're doing, and it can just guide you in that journey a little bit more. And so that's what I'm working on right now, is just getting this out there in a way that I can tangibly give to people something for them to have as an adjunct tool, as an adjunct behavior, to really embed it into organizations, into teams, and into individual behavior, right? Like whatever your business is, whatever it is that you're doing, this is something so amazing that can be embedded into it.
Awesome. Last question I have for you. Where can people find you, Brandi?
Yeah, so please come. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn, on Instagram, What If Collective, on LinkedIn. Also, my personal LinkedIn is there, Brandi Croghan. On Instagram, it's the Real What If Collective. And I'd love to connect with anybody on the socials, or you can always. I have a calendar link on my website, thewhatifcollective.com. We can connect there as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Brandi. It was great having you on. Appreciate you coming by and spending your time with us.
Thanks, Josh. It was good to be here. I appreciate it.
Good stuff. All right, guys. Thank you for listening and for being part of what we do here. As I remind you every time, there's never a good excuse not to know your shit. Till next time.